Hello, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day here on SJU. It's me, it's Billy, it's Danielle. They got the memo and wore red. I failed. I don't believe in love. So,
Aren't you married?
oh, yeah.
Shouldn't I be the bitter? I should be the bitter single bitch.
All to get her inheritance.
Yo, if anyone's gonna be bitter on this, it's going to be me. I'm the single one.
No,
Hashtag it's kind of awesome, but it's fun. Yeah.
I mean, there's flame on my Michael Myers shirt, so let's just say that's red adjacent.
The fires of love.
That's the fires of love. Michael represents love. I do believe in love now. Yesterday was the Super Bowl. And that means football was played. I was driving to go get Taco Bell when the Rams won, so I saw fireworks celebrating me getting Taco Bell. But
if it was Taco Bell, you had some other kind of fireworks later on, about 5 hours
pew,
later.
Pew, 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 pew.
But if Super Bowl, I don't tend to watch it, but I do watch all those trailers they put out, and there were a bunch. We got a bunch of big trailers this weekend, even leading into the weekend. So we're going to talk about a bunch of those, your Doctor Stranges, your Jurassic Worlds, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to be taking your questions. We're going to be saying goodbye to a director legend who unfortunately passed away. And we're going to have Kim's interview from the Uncharted junket. But let us jump in with Doctor Strange and the multiverse of, wait, was that Patrick Stewart's voice? This was certainly the one I saw because I actually went and saw Play yesterday, guys. I was being very cultured.
Oh, yeah.
And when I walked out of it, though, Twitter was ablaze with the Doctor Strange trailer.
What was the play?
It was
important.
I'm forgetting the title of it, but it stars Bryan Cranston and Amy Brenneman, and it was really good. Power of Sail. They're good actors, it turns out.
Yeah.
So
play acting's real hard.
They are. I was yelling to them, "You're doing great up there." Oh my God, there were some old people behind us having trouble with their hearing aid thing, and it was a whole thing. But I don't want to age shame.
No, of course not. That's a bummer for everyone.
They were talking very loudly, saying, "Is it working for you?" Anyway,
maybe they were talking about the nuances of the performance.
Is it working for you?
Is this emotionally connecting for you?
It's not working for me.
Are Cranston's choices working for you? But came out of that play, looked at Twitter, and I was seeing a lot of Doctor Strange mentions, and I was seeing a lot of Professor X mentions. There was a big new trailer, second trailer for Doctor Strange released. Yes. There was also a 30-second ad played during the Super Bowl that was different. Like it had different footage altogether in some instances. What did you think of this much more expanded look at Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness?
Yo, like it was unfortunately, like I am at this point, I'm expecting anything and everything to be thrown at everything now that we've gotten through the Spider-Man of it all. And it's like, oh no, they will do this. Because honestly, how do you top you did 10 years of storytelling, right? It commenced in like this huge big thing. You lost like your biggest like actor and attraction. Of course, you've got to start like doing all of these, like, I don't want to say stunts, but you've got to start, you have to have the entity with every like phase that you do, which in my opinion, eventually the next big thing is going to be, we're going to end on the Dark Phoenix saga. I think, and I don't mean this phase. I mean like phases and like phase 6 or whatever. It's going to be like, okay, well now we got to like pull the ripcord and do Dark Phoenix. God, I hope they do it right.
Do they? Do they have to do it?
What do you think? What do you think is the next? I mean, like of the next big things that could keep people like connected. And again, I don't think it's going to be this phase. I think it's going to be like phase 6 or phase 7. I do think that's going to be like the next big end game event is going to be Dark Phoenix.
Well, aren't they saying like Secret Wars is going to be the next?
That's rumored a lot. Is Secret Wars? Yeah.
I mean, I just like look. We're getting a little bit down a rabbit hole, but it's just like
that's the show.
you redo Dark Phoenix a second time, and audiences still are just not into it. I kind of
that's because they haven't done it right and they didn't give it the time.
but see, here's the thing. It's just like now the expectations are so unbelievably high of like, you better do it right. Like, what does doing it right even mean anymore? If I were Feige, I would just be like, you know what? Maybe we just let this one go. But who knows? On a long
Why do you make me count on Valentine's Day? Why are you breaking my heart on Valentine's Day? But yeah, no. So it was very interesting. I love watching. I'm not one of the people who does this because like I do not have the attention span. But I love watching everyone who's going through and like combing through every shard of glass in the poster to be like, whose eyeball is that? Good
Yeah.
for you, because I'm not effing doing it. So I'm like, and no, and that's not even me being sarcastic. Like, good for you. I will read your stuff. I simply can't. I do not. I have ADHD. Like, I simply will not do that. But there were, if you do come through that thing and you do look through the shards of glass, you will see some interesting things that might wind up popping off. And so I personally, I don't know, I'm interested, but I also like the idea of, if some of these things happen, like, I mean, that is Patrick Stewart's voice. Like, that's not even, we don't have to like bounce around that. If that's happening, would I prefer that just be a multiverse thing and they not bring him back for the next X-Men? I kind of want the next X-Men to be all, same for Fantastic Four. I want all clean slate, except Deadpool, because because Deadpool makes $1 million. Millions, they all make $1 million, but you know what I mean? Billions of dollars. But so I would rather them clean slate it. But I do like, if this is going to be like hey, because they've already acknowledged that in the multiverse, a bunch of different people can look like different people and still somehow be the same person. They've already acknowledged that. So like, why not? You know, it's fun. It's fun for the kids. And that's what the kids like.
Billy, is it fun for the kids?
The kids love it. The youths are just all about it.
Gen Z, it's so hot right now. The multiverse is so hot with Gen Z on TikTok.
I think just, watching this trailer, first of all, I was just taken aback more just like tonally. Like, look, Marvel has a tendency to do this. I will caveat. In one of their big releases, the first trailer tends to be much more intense and darker than the second trailer, which is a little bit more indicative of the film. That being said, this one did feel like a little more horror-ish and a little scarier. Like, just it looked different, which I can appreciate that. You can see Sam Raimi isms kind of bleed through, which is like, okay, that's kind of neat. I have been somewhat vocal as to saying, in terms of like multiversal stuff, that full disclosure, as I've said a couple times now, like, I still haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, although I've seen all of it on Twitter in GIF form. I think the multiverse is something that like must be treaded. I sound like Wong. It must be treaded lightly. It can be very dangerous.
If you were Wong, you would just get up and leave.
This is true.
That's what Wong does. You would just get up and go out the door and be like, I have stuff to do. Y'all figure out this multiverse stuff. I'm busy. I'm Wong.
I think I think it could be really cool, and like, looking at how some of the footage, like, it just looks like a great kind of horror adventure, as long as it just doesn't the Sir Peace do. I don't know, like, I'll reserve judgment, but I was just like, oh, you had this great swan song in Logan, and I thought we were done. Like, are you sure this is the one? Look, we're all wrestling fans here. Do you want to do a Shawn Michaels Saudi Arabia show here? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Or do you want to do Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair with a "I'm sorry, I love you"?
Ooh, see, I don't know. That's the multiverse.
That's a reference for no one else in our audience. Pew pew pew.
Yeah, I guess I understand.
This is what happens when you're not around.
It's it's of course it's always that slippery slope, and having to get, because look, I've said before, I love Spider-Man No Way Home and was very impressed, like, that the fact that it managed to balance so many heavy, hey, it's that thing I love, with actually being a good story about Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Because the worry is you can so quickly like lose sight of the center of the movie when you start doing cool stuff. So that being said, this trailer looks great to me, and I agree with you, Billy. Like, I really like the tone and the Raimi. There's a lot of Raimi shots in it. The zoom in at Wanda's eye and spiraling around.
The color, like just the color story too, is just so. Okay, well, that's maybe not the best example. Oh, I love Lego Face though. Come on.
Right.
Wait, can we talk about real quick? My favorite part of this trailer is calling out, even if it seemed heavy-handed, but I just love that part where Wanda was like, "How come if you do this, you're a hero, but when I do this, I'm the bad guy?" Like, if that is even just like a pinch of kind of like the nuances of using the multiverse, then I think we got it. That to me appealed more. That side of it appealed more to me than maybe like who's sitting in all those seats at the whatever Council of Time. Like,
well, because you're like a huge, and I agree, because I'm also like really huge to that, and only because of how well that they did Spider-Man. gives me hope that this might be not just like a bunch of people slamming their action figures together, because I am also like, I get into like the personal and like all of that stuff. And Billy, I know that that's you, except for when it's not, but you do that deliberately. Like you know the difference. Same as me. We know the difference. But because that was a worry, but that's one of those lines where I'm like, ooh, it's not going to be our show. But ooh, I can't wait to hear the crappy discourse. Oh, it's going to be crappy. Oh, it's going to be amazing. Don't send it to me. I'll find it. I won't want to. It'll just be in my recommends because I do this for a living. So don't.
Well, I am all in. I have to admit, like, the Patrick Stewart thing, I freaked out. My mom, I went to see this play with my mom. She didn't understand why I was watching this trailer in the car. Going, yeah. She's like, whatever.
Did you break her hearing aid in the car, Eric?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Let your mother enjoy live theater.
The Illuminati, which is a group in the comics that Professor X and Doctor Strange were a part of. You're like, is this their version of it? I do think, Danielle, what you mentioned, like, I do think that they will not maybe like Patrick Stewart's back as Professor X going forward. I think it will be like this, like, hey, it's a Professor X from a version of the multiverse.
Yes.
But it will be more like an acknowledgement than any like, this is our Professor X going forward sort of thing.
Do you think that this version of the Illuminati has also sent, this is really like deep into the weeds comic book stuff, do you think they also sent their Hulk into space? That's how Hulk originally gets into space and does World War Hulk, like all the stuff that we saw in the last wasn't even his movie, the last Taika Waititi thing.
Yes, the Thor Ragnarok.
The Thor Ragnarok. So a lot of that was taken from World War Hulk, which was essentially, everyone was like, oh, Hulk's like real dangerous. And so like, that's where we find out there's this Illuminati of all of the smartest people in the Marvel universe. And they were like, oh, let's just put him on a rocket ship and send it into space.
No consequences.
But can I jump on what? So
people?
I think that's a perfect example of why, if they ever did Dark Phoenix again, why it wouldn't be Dark Phoenix and why people would be mad is because that's not what Marvel does. Like, look at Civil War, look at Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
Those are three great stories all mixed together into one. So I don't think we'll ever get Dark Phoenix like page to stage exactly the way people want it. But
I don't think that would ever work. Honestly, like I don't think that could ever completely work. I think the best example that we will ever get of it is from the X-Men animated series. But I think the main thing that every other version of Dark Phoenix has ever suffered through is that it wasn't given the proper time to develop the story. It's a long story.
Yeah.
Like, it's a long story, and you have to go through Phoenix to get to Dark Phoenix, and most of them skip that step. And like, anyway, blah blah blah.
I'll always say, in the slight defense of the movie Dark Phoenix, it was supposed to be 2 movies and then they changed it at the last minute, and you can feel it.
I didn't hate Dark Phoenix.
I didn't hate it either.
I thought it was fine.
But you can also feel like they were like, ooh, this was supposed to be 2 movies. Gotta cram it all into one.
It did feel like
scene was amazing. That first that what was it, that initial like 10-minute space scene, that was like, mwah. I thought that was really great.
It did feel like they're like, all right, the bell's gonna ring. You better finish this test up real fast. Like, you either know it or you don't. You got to turn it in.
In the comics, the Illuminati includes like Namor, Black Panther, Mr. Fantastic, but also includes Black Bolt, who was played in live action by Anson Mount on the beloved TV series Inhumans. And it would crack me up so much if we got 2 Star Trek captains, because now he's Pike, sitting up there on those chairs, and Anson Mount made his very surprising return to official movie MCU, no less. I don't think it's happening, but who the hell knows in 2022.
I mean, from a business standpoint, multiverse is so genius only because it's like, now they can resell you all their old catalog stuff all over again. It's like, hey, you're Fantastic Four. Guess what? That actually kind of sort of counts now again. So you should buy all this stuff all over again. It's genius.
it is, right?
Bob Chapek's gonna do multiverse until we're dead.
I mean, the fact that Amazing Spider-Man 2 has been like a top-selling movie on iTunes lately.
Insane. Insane. 8 years ago, we were all just like, boo. And now it's like #1 on iTunes.
No, it's going to be amazing.
I respect the game.
The multiverse version of Danielle Radford, instead of me, it's just Lizzo sitting here talking to you very much about how she cares about the Illuminati.
We should move to the other trailers, but because I was annoying about it with William earlier, before we do, I do have to acknowledge Cartoon Universe, because there's a tiny glimpse at one point. Everything's going crazy, and there's dinosaurs. And then if you look in the background of that shot that's up on screen, there's clearly an animated universe. How crazy do we want to see things go here, guys? Is there universe hopping?
Well, if you are looking at the posters and checking every shard of glass, you can see Peggy Carter's shield in one of them shards of glass.
Can. That's people are like imagining things in that glass, but you're not imagining Peggy Carter's
people
shield.
are imagining everything in that glass. I'm pretty sure like the Lizzo version of me is in that glass. Like that is how that is working.
That's
but yeah,
Nicolas
like
Cage's Ghost Rider's left buttocks. I'm sure of it. Peggy Shields for real.
I will be I'll be the cynic and say, I think maybe that shot just wasn't done and it's just totally not animated and people are just like really grasping at shards of glass here.
Shards of glass on the poster. It's perfect. Yep. Here's my last question for you guys on Doctor Strange front. The first one made 677 million, a big hit in regular terms, but for the MCU, it's actually on the lower threshold. Wow. 5.5 years later, after Doctor Strange is coming off of some of the biggest movies ever, how much does this one jump up from that first movie?
Oh, it's huge. I think that this is considering like that was the introduction to Doctor Strange that we got, other than like a couple of like, sly mentions here and there. After his own movie, it really was just like an origin story, and a lot of people were not into it because they were not Doctor Strange fans. They didn't like it, wasn't their thing. But now, after coming off of all those other things, and especially coming off of this, and especially like again, we are wacky for the multiverse. Like, is Loki going to show up? Who knows? Are we going to watch to see if he is? Probably. And I do think that we have talked about this before. Thank you for going out and supporting live theater. But in the case of most people, if you are going to go out to a movie theater these days or to any live event, it's got to feel like something that's like, okay, well, I need to see this now. And so I'm willing to take the risk to see it now. And there aren't a lot of events that evoke that kind of passion in a lot of people. Like even, gosh, we had the Super Bowl in LA, yesterday, and there was some rioting, but not like an LA measure of
rioting. It was low-key pandemic rioting. It was a different thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's still not great. Like, don't riot. But like, it wasn't all of us were big. We were big time. Like, there's going to be a riot. It's like, this is LA. Of course there is. And then no, like not even just like a tiny baby riot. People. That's the pandemic.
Yeah, this thing hits a Billy easy.
Yeah. Easy. I don't think it's as big as Spider-Man, but it's gonna be big.
I don't know. I actually think if once word of all the bajillion characters that end up being in it, people are gonna go back and see it 55 times.
It's gonna help.
Plus, also like, God willing, there won't be an Omicron by May.
Right.
So like people like me who did not go see Spider-Man because I didn't want to kill someone else. That's not a judgment. But if it's like if this had come out last May I was freshly vaccinated and I was like, I'm ready to hit the beach. So if we're in the same spot, I do think that like COVID, even as ridiculous as this sounds, I do think COVID did have an impact on Spider-Man, because there are other people like me that are just like, I'll wait for this one. But if there's no surge.
Oh yeah. Yo, I literally only went, and this is someone who was like very recently gotten over COVID. I literally only went to go see Spider-Man because I found it playing in a theater when I went back home in my parents' neighborhood, in this theater where it's like, oh, it's just like a bunch of retirees. I found the first showing playing. There's like, the theater isn't even a quarter of the way full. And that was the only reason why I felt confident in doing it. I kept checking to see how full the theater was. And if it had gotten like any more people, I would have just been like, you could have my tickets, and I wouldn't have went.
And I only saw Spider-Man 6 times, where normally I'd see it 12. So
you'd see it 20.
It's probably true. But
you chose live theater instead.
That's
whatever,
right.
Eric. I don't even know you anymore.
Get Bryan Cranston into Spider-Man. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to our channel for videos every weekday. Hit that like, hit that bell. Let's go through more. We're going to bullet point these, I think, a little more here. The other trailers, but there were plenty of interesting ones here. One that debuted a little midnight drop we got on Saturday night was Jordan Peele's Nope trailer, a movie that's been very mysterious, although he likes to do that with a lot of his stuff.
Mhm.
What did you guys think of the trailer to Nope, and what the hell is happening in Nope?
I missed this one, so
Oh,
Ah.
yeah, I didn't
it's
see this
really
one
good.
yet, but I actually was one of the people. Maybe this is not an unpopular opinion. I thought it was. I loved Us, and I know that one was a little bit more divisive than like
Still
everyone
thinking.
loved Get Out.
Yeah.
But I love Jordan Peele's style. Um, I can't wait after this is over to watch this one. I'm sorry that I missed it.
It's a great trailer. All of his trailers are really good. It's a
Yeah.
great trailer. Kiki Palmer is infectious. Um, gosh, I like normally if we were in regular conversation, I'd be like, I don't want to spoil it for you. But yeah, so right now, and who knows what it's gonna wind up being. Right now, it is pointing to aliens. That is what it's pointing towards. Who knows what it's gonna wind up being, like some kind of like eldritch horror or like whatever. Like it's Jordan Peele, it could be anything. And this could very easily be a misdirect. But either way, I love the way that this looks. I really like the performances. I am so friggin' ready for this movie, no matter what it winds up being, even if it is just like that's a swerve and it goes left or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm really into this. It has one of the best trailer lines of maybe the last year, which is the one where Daniel Kaluuya says, "Is there such a thing as a bad miracle? Is
Mhm,
there
mhm,
a word for that?"
mhm.
It's a great line, my dudes. That's a
Y-
great
yeah,
line.
it's a great trailer. Like you said, his trailers are always really good and pull you in. I agree. By the way, Us is great. I mean, I think Us just suffered from Get Out being so amazing that people had a little bit of like, oh, it's great, but not Get Out great, but it was still great. And
I think
this
it's a
looks,
little thinky for people. I think it was
yeah,
really thinky.
this is looks really cool. Yes, there's a lot of looking up at the sky that makes you think it's aliens, but there could certainly be other explanations for creepy things happening
Mhm.
from the sky. It could be a dark religious thing with that miracle line. Who knows? But I'm in. I also love that, like, sort of the setup that it's like what is the only black owned ranch that provides horses for Hollywood productions
Yeah.
is like the setup of who these characters are. I think that's really interesting and unique,
Mhm.
as far as the setup there. Yeah, I'm all in on this. And Billy, check it out after we finish.
Absolutely, yeah.
Also, Kiki Palmer, like, what is this? Her fourth horror movie now?
Mhm.
Is she officially a scream queen? Is that what we're doing?
I think so. I think
I
she
think
gets in there.
so.
Yeah, yeah, she's
Mm,
doing it.
that's dope.
uh, let's go to The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which we got the first sort of full teaser for, a minute-long teaser. Debuts in September, so there's plenty more to come on this one. What did you guys think of Return of the Rings here?
It's obviously gorgeous. It looks amazing. Like, look at all that. The
Is
vastness
this
of New Zealand or wherever they are. It
The
looks
first
great.
season is New Zealand, then they're moving
Yeah.
for season two.
is this supposed to be in the same kind of universe as Peter Jackson's, or is it
Yes, they want, even
okay?
though he's not involved, the idea is that they want it to be connected
I got it.
down to, like, a couple of the characters are the younger versions.
Mhm.
What's that, Hugo Weaving's character and Gladriel, are supposed to be like the younger versions. So it's, they want you to feel you're in Peter Jackson's universe is the answer to that.
Okay. Um, yeah, look, I'm stoked. I have tried a couple times to read the Lord of the Rings books, and I can't get past Frodo's 200-page birthday party to get to anything happening. So my only knowledge of Lord of the Rings is through the films themselves, which I just absolutely adore, and I actually like some of the Hobbitses.
Mm.
So I will definitely be watching this. I don't know the backstories to a lot of this, so like this is all going to be new stuff for me, and I won't be there like, oh, that didn't happen in the book. I'm just going to enjoy it as it is, but I definitely will be watching. I'm excited.
I've mentioned before, I'm a hard sell on like high fantasy. It's just never been my jam. And so people think I hate the Lord of the Rings when I don't. I just admire them from afar. I couldn't really get into those movies. I saw that they were very well made. I just was not like big into what was happening. So I feel the same way with this trailer. I will give it a shot because it is a cool looking trailer. And it looks certainly like a big production. We know that Amazon spent a lot of freaking money on this show.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I remain skeptical because I'm just skeptical on the entire genre. It's just a weird block with me. We all have our things, but hopeful as always. That's all we can have.
Yeah, it's very pretty. I mean, but that's it's very pretty. I think as long as and I really like the actors, the performances look great. So we'll see. I'm definitely giving this one a chance, but I am getting a little burnt out on this specific kind of fantasy. But we'll see.
Yeah, it's been we've gotten a lot close together. It's funny because there wasn't a lot,
Yeah.
and then suddenly there was a bunch of shows happening at once.
Yeah.
So, we can talk quickly about the Moon Knight 30-second Super Bowl ad. It's just a couple weeks after the full trailer, so we got a little bit of new stuff in here. Any quick thoughts on our new snippets of Moon Knight here?
It's neat. I'm already sold.
I've already
Yeah.
they already had me. You
Yeah.
had me at Oscar Isaac. Like I was already here.
I like the trippy stuff we keep getting. That moving tattoo we just saw, looks like maybe that's Kanushu coming up behind him in that one part. Oh, that's a great shot.
That's a great
the
shot.
wings, doing their thing.
Mhm.
And I saw Oscar Isaac, they're doing some press coming out for the show, and he said, oh, don't, there's an explanation for his strange, not great British accent, which we already kind of figured.
Yeah, we already knew, but it was one of those things where I was like,
multiple personalities, and it's gonna be, I think we'll be
This will
okay.
be an
"Oi,
interesting
my
one
name
to
is
see.
Moon Knight, isn't it, Governor?"
Moon Knight's going to be a harder sell, I feel like, than you can kind of jump into a Hawkeye if you're not the most
Yeah.
well-versed Marvel person. We are getting to the age of Marvel where it's starting to outpace what I read, because I was more of a DC kid growing up than a Marvel, so I know very little about Moon Knight. So I'm just curious to see, like, will I be able to follow this? Will they make it digestible enough, or is it going to be so like, what is that? What's happening?
I think they know that the character's, not the most obscure. I mean, Eternals is more obscure than Moon Knight, but it's not like, he's a pretty C-level character. No offense to people. He's had some great comics too. I'm just saying on a,
Yes.
level of like people recognizing him away from comics.
But does your mom know its scale?
No, it's not on the mom scale.
Not on the mom
It's
scale.
not on the mom scale.
But even like the fact that Ethan Hawke's character is taken from one issue of the comics kind of makes me think it will be accessible, that they're just like, we're going to do our own sort of spin on it, with some good actors. Are we going to say, Danielle?
No. I was just going to say, like, the way that it was always, because I'm like a huge Marvel person, but Moon Knight was like not a huge thing I was into. But yeah, like if you just think of it as like Batman, but I wear white, kind of close.
But then his mental state brings him into a whole different, whole different arena. That's what
But
makes
it's a place to start.
The surface is similar, including him throwing his little moonerang. But then we get into what's
Does
going
he
on.
moon people? Is that why he's called Moon Knight?
He's a
Hey,
good guy.
criminals!
see.
He just pulls his pants down.
Well, see, now it's a Hulu show. Now it's no longer Disney Plus.
That's right.
Now it's Hulu.
And then let's move to one that here's where we're going to start to cheat a little bit with stuff that came in the end of last week, but clearly was aiming towards the Super Bowl, because Jurassic World Dominion, big trailer. We weren't doing a show, so we couldn't talk about that day. They did have a Super Bowl spot taken from footage from this, but this was a big trailer. Obviously, our first real look at the movie, and very much so the first look at the original cast from Jurassic Park back. What did you guys think of the Jurassic World Dominion trailer?
Hell yeah. I'm all about, look, I know not you guys specifically, I actually don't know, but I know you guys out there in TV land are not a fan of this new Jurassic World trilogy, and I say, why not? It's fun, it's dumb. No, nothing's ever going to be the first
I'm
one.
with you, Billy.
Once you let it go, that nothing will ever be that first movie. I thought the last one, which now I can't, Lost Kingdom? Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, dinosaurs in a haunted house. Sure. Like, we've already seen them in parks. We've already seen them in jungles and forests. Like, now we get horses in the snow versus dinosaurs. Right on. Let's do it. Let's go. This is my Fast and Furious. This is about
see.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like, I don't I haven't seen it. I don't know what the movie's going to be like. It hits me right in my nostalgia hole right there. Like, it knows exactly what I want to see, and what I want to see is Lorna Dern. Like, it knows exactly what I want to see. So I'm excited for that. I don't, I'm not like the hugest fan of this trilogy, but it's also, a lot of people are mad at it, and I just don't have the wherewithal to get mad at movies that aren't for me anymore. I'm too old. Maybe it's now that I'm a mom of two precious cats. I just don't have the energy to be able to devote to that. So yeah, it's fine. Like it's not my most anticipated movie of the year. I'm gonna watch it in some form or another. I don't know if it's gonna be a first weekend or if it's gonna be like, okay, there's gonna be 10 people in this theater. I'm gonna sit in the back so your germs don't like get right up on my face kind of movie. Because I do think this one is one that would benefit from seeing it on the big screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not, I'm not mad at it. I just like don't, it looks fine.
I'm mostly on Billy's side of things. I've enjoyed all both the Jurassic World movies for what they were. I agree, you can't recapture the first. And this trailer got me in the nostalgias, even though this movie, it was clear in the trailer, is going to do a lot of very unsubtle callbacks, from Laura Dern getting up, removing the sunglasses, to putting Sam Neill in a blue shirt, and Goldblum in the black. Like they're dressed very similar. It's going to do all that stuff, and it's going to be kind of cheesy, but I'm still going to probably go for it. So, it's like you said, Billy, like, they're running around. Also, just the fact that they're in the real world, like the end of the last movie, that was exciting to actually completely move the series, just where dinosaurs are everywhere.
And the Dilophosaurus is back.
Finally, finally
Come
back.
on.
He's here. He's spitting, or she, I should say, ready to do all the spit in the world. So yeah, I'm in. Even though there's gonna be some cringe moments too.
It's not gonna be good, but it'll be like Jurassic
It might
World.
be.
Good. I
Look,
didn't know.
I just want more of Goldblum's black gymnast daughter.
People are
Kelly,
theorizing
what
that
happened
might
to
be
Kelly?
her.
That's
People
what we're
are
thinking.
wondering
Yeah.
if she's in the movie with Chris Pratt in those scenes. Yes.
No way.
I think there's a way.
I want it.
I think it's possible. We'll see if she does. If she swings and kicks a raptor, we'll know.
There will be like 5 people in the audience that make the connection that they're like, oh yeah, Vanessa Chester's character from Lost World. Like, I might be the only person outside of Vanessa Chester that remembers that Vanessa Chester was in Lost
I
World
did not
Jurassic Park.
remember that. So
because she was also in Harriet the Spy, you uncultured swine.
I like the one with Trachtenberg.
Yeah, the Trachtenberg one.
I like that movie.
And Rosie O'Donnell.
They told her she smelled and she's trying to clean herself, and it was very disturbing.
Maybe that's why I blocked it. No, I don't like it. Black gymnast daughter forever.
And lastly, we can just talk briefly about this promo that Warner Brothers put out for its DC slate for the year. That was like, bam, bam, bam. We got the Batman, we got the Flash, we got Aquaman back, and we got Black Adam. Some of it was familiar footage, but mostly the stuff that jumped out was Black Adam, because we got the first look at the Justice Society. Were you intrigued? Were you enticed by this little preview of things to come, guys?
I mean, I've talked about this before, but it's just like, I love DC only because you just never know what you're going to get with them. With Marvel, I know what I'm pretty much in for. With DC, it is a smorgasbord of tone and like aesthetics, everything. So I'm all for it. I loved Aquaman because it's so goofy and crazy that I want another one. I think Dr. Fate in live action looks really cool. I think Pierce Brosnan looks great. I'm a little not 100% sold yet on the Batman, but maybe in a month I'll be. I think that's the thing. I think the Batman is kind of, for me, like, okay, like this feels a little bit more like, let's take a gritty, realistic approach. And I think my personal taste is more Aquaman, where it's like, nope, give me the big dumb helmet. That's what I want. So I actually think it's awesome that within the same slate, we get all those different kinds of genres, because now there's something in there for everybody.
There's a lot of love, by the way, for Sassy Billy in the chat. I just needed to mention.
Billy's always sassy. When is Billy not sassy?
This is me, like, super toned down for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. This is Billy with his heart full of love and hope. Yeah, no, I am very, my heart is open. I am willing to accept all of these into my life. There are things that I'm not like super crazy about, but that is also, I think context is going to play such an important part of it. Not super jazzed about the Flash's new suit. Who knows what that's going to look like in context? I don't know. I'm living by this new Saved by the Bell, the TV show principle, where I'm learning that I having a first reaction and response to something is normal and understandable, but the thing that might come out might be completely not what I expected and really, really good. And so I'm giving everything an earnest, honest chance. That's what came out of the pandemic for me, baby, is get COVID, get hope. Don't get COVID. Don't get COVID. It sucks. Don't do it.
um, yeah, I'm intrigued by all this. Look, I am very excited by Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. That's just a sentence that's
Mhm.
fun to say. And getting to see a little bit of him in this. And yeah, like you said, Billy, it is that weird crapshoot of the DC movies being all over the map in both quality and tone, but some of it's great. That is like, all right, let's see what they have here. Like, I wasn't really into the first Aquaman movie, but I love that it was crazy. And just was like, here's everything. Here's 10 movies in one. Now it's a desert movie. Now it's this.
An octopus played the drums. Where's your heart?
An octopus did.
Aquaman is great because it is 10 movies in one. It's like when you're a kid and your mom got you like a Transformer because they're like, oh, he gets a car and a robot all in the same thing. So we don't have to buy him a bunch of things. I got like 10 movies out of Aquaman. Like they made all their sequels in the first movie. It's great. You wrote the book on Aquaman right then and there.
It was the book of Aquaman. There you go. It's better than the book
Oh,
of
I would totally watch the book of Aquaman.
So guys, we just talked about a crap load of trailers. What got you most hyped? What are you most excited for from all these things we were discussing?
Ooh, I mean, look, I think they're all unique in their own way. I think the most buzzworthy one, obviously, is probably Doctor Strange, just because, like I said, Sir P Stew popping up out of nowhere in the middle of your foosball. That's gonna get the people talking. Personally, I think the one that like I actually really want to see the most is probably Jurassic World. I just want to see it ended on such a like, well, I don't know where you go from here. You guys kind of wrote yourself into a corner now. Let's see you get out of it. So just on the pure curiosity level, I'm saying Jurassic World.
Mhm.
Obviously everyone is interested to see where the next phase of the MCU is going and how they lead into the multiverse and how this affects everything and all of these properties that we love and all of this like nostalgia. But I am really just because I don't have any idea what to expect with that, but I have more of an idea. And then people come out with leaks, and sometimes they're true, and sometimes you're not, and you try to ignore them, and I never talk about them. But as far as just, I want to know what's happening because I don't get it and I need to know about it. It's Nope. Nope is the one that I'm the most excited of, for sure.
I think Nope. Yeah, I've so much curiosity and excitement around it. If I'm being honest, Marvel loving person I am, Doctor Strange is the one I'm most hyped for at the moment. But yes, Nope is second there, just in terms of like, yeah, it intrigued and excited for it.
Yeah.
Let's a little bit of sad news we have to talk about here, just because there was last night in the midst of like the Super Bowl celebration and all these trailers coming out, was the sad news that Ivan Reitman passed away. Very beloved producer and director. He was 75. His family said he died in his sleep. I mean, the guy's resume is very well known, but he has a directory of Meatball, Stripes, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, Dave, but of course, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 being these incredible sort of iconic parts of cinema history that he's known for. And then as a producer, he started out producing David Cronenberg horror movies, which is fascinating. And then he produced everything from like Animal House, Space Jam, Private Parts, and the two most recent Ghostbuster movies, 2016 and Afterlife. He didn't direct them, but he produced them. Guys, sort of, what are your thoughts on Ivan Reitman, and what stands out to you as sort of the favorites amongst that his big resume? I didn't mention everything he did.
No, just like what a life well lived. I'm that weirdo. Ghostbusters 2 is my favorite Ghostbuster because I think it's the one that I grew up with. And just to be able to bring those teams together to be able to make these great movies that really do touch so many people and continue to touch so many people, there's really nothing. Obviously it's sad when anyone passes away, but there is something to be said when someone has had just such a full life. And obviously that doesn't, if you were one of his loved ones and someone that he knew, obviously like that's not enough for you. But as someone who is a fan and does not personally know him, we should all be so lucky to leave a legacy that Ivan Reitman left. And, you know, most of us will not get to. Not me, I will, but most of us won't get to. So it is, it's incredibly sad. I would have loved to have seen what other projects he would have, if he would have continued to produce anything, because, you know, he did come out and he produced Ghostbusters Afterlife, and he's worked on some other stuff. And I know that he did work closely with his son on Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I would have been interesting to see what else they might have teamed up with or what other work he would have done. But what a legacy. I'm going to go back and watch Ghostbusters 2 today. I mean, this isn't, I did watch the Bobby Brown Ghostbusters 2 video like a whole bunch yesterday. And I will do so today. On Our Own is a great song. So yeah, what a, you know, I love, I'm looking in there and there isn't a dud in the bunch as far as like the movies that we talked about. I love all of them, and rest in peace to just a powerhouse of comedy.
Yeah, it's always so interesting when someone like I kind of put him in the category of like a Harold Ramis or
Yes.
a John Hughes, where you look at their body of work and you're like, man, so many of these, you know, like we're not talking Stanley Kubrick, and I don't think he would put himself in that position either. But when you look at his body of work and you're like, this encapsulated so much of what made me happy as a kid, you know, just like from start to finish. And you know, all these movies that we've talked about, Stripes and Ghostbusters and Junior, which I think is so much fun, and Twins, like just all these things that you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, like you kind of take for granted. So you know, I think he did leave behind kind of all these things for us, which I think is so great. And I do love that, you know, his son kind of got to take the mantle, and he got to see his son take the mantle in the
Yeah.
newest Ghostbusters, which, you know, no spoilers, but also does have its own kind of message about kind of, you know, like saying goodbye and letting go and move and passing on and all that kind of stuff. So a little, you know, it feels very circle of life, but I think Ivan Reitman will be remembered in a positive light for kind of just giving us joy. It doesn't always have to be genre breaking. It doesn't always have to be change the face of cinema. Bringing people joy is maybe like that's, you know, God forbid someday when I pass, I hope that's what people will say, like, well, he brought us joy from this and this. Like, what a great legacy to leave behind, you know?
Back when we
Yeah.
could make movies that did that weren't like they have to make $6 billion at the office, you know?
Right.
And like you didn't have to connect everything, and people pointing out like, look, no one's sitting there being like everything wrong with Junior, you know, like it just was it was fun. It was fun,
Yeah.
and he had a great sense of fun. Like what a great legacy.
While personally, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say Ghostbusters wasn't my favorite of his movies. One I definitely want to recommend to people that I don't think a lot of, especially younger people, might have seen is Dave, which was a hit when it came out, but then kind of got forgotten because it didn't have the genre trappings, some of the things that kind of kept some of his other stuff talked about. Dave is a 1993 comedy where Kevin Kline plays a guy who is an occasional impersonator for the president they use. He's just a normal guy who looks like the president that once in a while they call him in for like to be the president of events. But when the president has a stroke, then they like need him to be the president full time. It's really funny. It's really sweet. It's just like got a good heart to it. And when I was looking at all his movies last night, which are obviously all these like great comedies, I was like, oh, Dave is such a nice movie. So
I haven't watched that one in a while. Is Sigourney in that?
I believe she is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that she's the love interest. Yeah. Aw.
So that's a great one. It'll be interesting. He was supposed to direct. They were supposed to finally make triplets this year with Tracy Morgan, with DeVito and Schwarzenegger. He was going to direct it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about what happens to that long in development project now.
I want it.
But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, like you guys said, I mean, you guys said very well. It's like amazing legacy, very well liked guy. Clearly, you know, there's a lot of not so like people who make great things, but you won't see a lot of that with Ivan Reitman. People seem to really just think he was a great guy to have around. But regardless, made these movies that, you know, comfort food, like you were kind of saying, Billy, comfort food in the best sense, like just movies you like to put on and have on, and revisiting old friends type movies. Great stuff. We're running long now, so I don't want to do two. I'll do a couple from the chat before we go to the junket here. But let's see here. Adam Holbert says, do you think Jordan Peele is the new Nolan on the fact that his name makes you excited for an original movie? Just like can sell it on his name. What do you guys think?
Well, there have always been dudes where you could sell it just on their name.
Mhm.
So I don't want to, because like when you say Nolan, I think that that's a very specific kind of comparison.
Right.
But I do think he is now in that level of filmmaker where if you hear it, you go, oh, that's Jordan Peele. I'm going to go see that. And they've used it in things that he's produced where people have had to say, hey, just so you know, like his production company did that, but this was actually done by, somebody else. This was written by someone else. This was directed by someone else because they know the power of his name. So that isn't something new under the sun. But yes, he is definitely in that echelon now of creators where you can sell something just by even hinting that he might have been involved at some point.
I think it was definitely that was a thing surrounding Candyman, where
Yep.
you might think that he was the one that did it. They do that a lot with Quentin Tarantino too.
Yeah.
Like brought to you by Quentin Tarantino means he watched it and then was like, "I like this. Let's bring it to the States." There were a
Mhm.
lot of those movies in the mid 2000s. But yes, I definitely think Jordan Peele has pushed past the barrier of a solid director that maybe us film nerds know and we'll get excited about. To you can sell Jordan Peele's next movie as Jordan Peele's next movie, and that's what it is.
I'm going.
Um,
It could be a black screen and it just says Jordan Peele's next movie. He wrote it and directed. I'm like, cool. When are tickets available? I don't need to know anything else.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's in. I think him and Nolan and Tarantino.
Mhm.
I can't think of very many others that you'd be like the new blank movie, and that's it.
Well, I mean,
Maybe
at that
Wes
point,
Anderson.
yeah, at that point, you start getting into like, yeah, your Wes
Yeah.
Anderson.
But then you
start
get
getting
Wes
into
Anderson
your, like
for a
Spielberg
smaller audience. I mean,
Right,
obviously,
right. Very niche. Like
Right.
genre. Mhm.
even to this point, I don't mean to upset like Marvel super fans, but like I don't even know if the Russos are there because the Russos have come out with some stuff post Endgame
And that no one.
yeah,
Did
that
anyone watch
people
Cherry?
I don't know that people just didn't, at least anecdotally to me, didn't seem as interested in. But I think a Jordan, I mean, let's hope that it goes more Christopher Nolan than it does M. Night Shyamalan, where
Yeah.
you say the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, people already were like, well, I hate it. I haven't seen it, but I hate it. But I don't think we're going to get there.
I think there was a time I think where we had more sort of celebrity directors, like sort of the heyday
Yeah.
of Spielberg, Scorsese, when Cameron was making movies a lot more frequently. It's dissipated, but like Matt Reeves is a great example. I've loved everything he's done, but you can't sell a movie just on his name yet. Maybe if after the Batman that'll change.
I think it will.
But I think probably too. But Jordan Peele, it's very impressive. He's only made 2 movies, but that he so quickly kind of got elevated. So I guess I think we all agree. Yes, you can. And it's these days probably even more impressive to get to that status. Where
I'm
people can
seeing
be a little more anonymous.
Taika Waititi pop up a lot in the chat. I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I
do.
can't recall the movie that he did with Scarlett Johansson, the little kid that was a
Jojo
Nazi.
Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo
the
Rabbit
Oscar
was a
nominated one?
fantastic movie, but it's not like it set the world on fire because Taika made it.
I
It
think
didn't.
it's
I
not
will.
bad.
That's one we'll have to agree to disagree on because I do think that was.
But I'm not
But I
talking
think
about the quality of the movie.
that's
I'm
a one
talking
for
about
him,
like
one for me.
it's not like a
one
Christopher
for you.
Nolan
Yeah.
movie where people went out in droves to see it because Taika made it. I'm not talking about the quality of the movie
Right.
whatsoever.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's why I say like I think Taika is in this community at least is just like, oh yeah, what he makes is going to be great, and 9 times out of 10 it probably is. But I'm saying in terms of like I could say new Christopher Nolan movie and like it is already #1 at the box office, billions of dollars. Like it doesn't really matter what it is. There are still very few directors that can pull that off.
Yeah. And I mean, like think less than ever these days. So yeah, Jordan Peele, hats
Especially
off
these
to
days,
you. Doing. Guys, I think we'll wrap it up there as we go into the junket. So sorry to get to more AMA today. We had a lot of trailers to talk about. We're gonna end here with our own Kim Taylor Foster. Just went to the junket, or went. It's virtual these days. We'll see if that changes soon. But she covered the junket for Uncharted. She talked to Ruben Fleischer, the director of Zombieland and Venom, who's done this film, and talked to a couple of the cast members. They talked about the female characters. They also talked about how fans love to speculate about like sort of expanded universes and different video games that the Uncharted characters could they ever encounter. So you can check that out now. Thank you guys. We'll be back with more this week. Farewell.
There are places out there you can't find on any map. They're not gone. They're just lost.
I wanted to talk to you about the women characters in the film. Now, I know Braddock is an original character written for the film, but what from the video games was it important for you to include for the women characters, and what did you want to avoid?
The most important thing for me in approaching the female characters in Uncharted was that they be formidable adversaries to the male heroes. It was interesting because both Sophia and Tati, I don't think either of them had done a studio movie prior to this. And it's a little tricky when you have these big movie stars in Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland, and then you have relatively unknown people opposite them. However, I was completely blown away by both of their performances. I think they more than stand as equals opposite those guys and give them a real run for their money.
Ruben and I had a lot of extensive conversations, just definitely about how Braddock was going to present herself, but particularly through her own backstory or where she came from. The most sort of in-depth conversation we got into about is how much, as a woman, how much empathy Braddock was going to express. And what we came down to was none whatsoever. That Ruben was like, no, I think that she's just a full-blown psychopath. Like, I don't think that she, and I'm like, you think? Okay, which at first was hard for me to accept, just as a woman and being like, well, all right. But then realizing how that also empowered Braddock to have this sort of unapologetic presentation, or this unapologetic nature about her, that was kill or be killed.
I feel like Braddock is out for herself. The ruthlessness was born from experience. She was betrayed in her past, and she developed a hard shell that allowed her to just be singularly focused on herself. Trust is a big issue, as well as greed. Those are themes that we play with a lot in the movie.
Who the hell is this? I'm a friend of Sully's.
Sully doesn't have any friends. I should know him, one of them.
The character's been called unique in the video games as a woman in video games. Is this how you see her?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's just a little bit more calculated in a way. She uses her sex appeal to her advantage. She's doing it more for herself rather than some other ulterior motive. She's not like a villain, you know? She still you can see those layers where she's conflicted and stuff, and the three dimensions that come with her, it's sort of different than any other female character that I've seen in a video game adaptation or a action film like this.
I assume we're 50-50, right? 50-50? You get 10%. That's me being generous. Wow.
There's a discussion on the fandom community for the game over whether the Uncharted universe could be connected to other games like The Last of Us and The Evil Within and maybe Assassin's Creed. What do you think about that?
I've heard that theory as well. I could definitely see the connection between Uncharted and The Last of Us. I've only played a bit of Assassin's Creed, and I haven't played the fourth one that you named. But I could totally see that, all being Naughty Dog and stuff too. I could see it being fun even for the game creators to morph this world or leave eggs to make you make these connections.
I think that would be really, really cool to combine them all. I thought that myself, you know. They all have something very similar. There's a very similar gameplay to them, and it would just flow so effortlessly together.
I'm not a person who believes that every world has to be a universe and that there's a multiverse of this and that. I think movies can just be great movies that stand alone. But if they happen to overlap or intersect, that's cool too. And we'll just have to see how the great minds at the PlayStation division of Sony want to navigate their properties.
What is that thing on your face?
Yeah, puberty's right around the corner, kid. You can grow your own.